This particular hardware device that I have is Keith McMillen's QuNeo. Now, this is a device that allows you to send MIDI notes, control change messages, pressure, sensitivity, all fully mappable if you use the QuNeo editor, and you can actually use this for a lot more than you would expect. If I hit the top button, I actually can access one of 16 modes or presets that are either defined through the editor or I can customize them myself. For liquid rhythm, I'm using mode 6, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've selected mode 6. In liquid rhythm, under the options, there's a MIDI mapping section. You can always open a MIDI mapping, open recent mappings that you've selected, or access and save the current MIDI mapping by using Command M and accessing your MIDI map mode and using a MIDI device to map it. I've already done all the hard parts, so I just want to show you how this is operating. So at the top right here, we have our transpose buttons. We have play, we have stop. Now this button is not record. I will get into that in just a moment. First, let me move on to this section right here. This particular section is controlling what we call randomizer. Now, randomizer allows you to choose random variations of bars, beats, and notes and utilize them to create variations to your drum pattern. So what you'll notice is in the bottom corner where the randomizer is, we have 4 sliders, which are conveniently enough mapped to the same 4 sliders on the QuNeo. Now the activate is the right switch, which will allow you to activate or deactivate each one of these. The top one being for bars, the middle for beat forms, this one to collaborate or use like-minded instruments, and the bottom one for random velocity. Now, when activating or deactivating these, you're specifying exactly what I want it to do. So for example, for my clap, I want to select a random bar form. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. That's when I can use this button that would be originally for record to use it as a surprise me. So if I hit play now, I've applied a random bar form. I can hit it again and actually get a different operation. And it varies depending on the amount that I'm putting on the slider will determine how much I'm deviating as a random bar form. And that explains that. So these sliders do that, and these will toggle the on and off switch. These left toggle switches move on to the bar transform section. Now, what the bar transform section does is analyzes the accent patterns of the bar you've created, and it will either apply a new structure or allow you to regroove or change the rhythmic pattern. For example, right now I have it set. You'll notice that it's blue, dark and light blue for the clap, which happens to be the top bar in this section. So I can select these to actually choose the top, the second, the third, and the 4th bar form, and actually manipulate the structure. So I'm going to keep this one. Now, in order to browse, rather than using your computer's arrow keys, we've mapped the QuNeo to use directional keys on the rotaries for left and right. So I can use this and be able to tab right. And I'm using these up-down arrow keys closer to the vertical sliders to go up and down. In order to select the entire row, you can actually press and hold either left or down to select the top to bottom or left to right selection. So if I just quickly place a beat form there, I'm going to press and hold it, and I've instantly selected that entire row. If I want to select this whole column, press and hold it again. I can press hold down. If I actually had more map, let's put one up here. There we go. So select that. There we go. And I've selected everything within the group. So right, left, up, down. These sliders at the bottom are controlling accent tools. It's an accent modifier section, and it basically allows us to choose between strong, medium, and light or weak beats and apply different velocity or swing to it. So in order to access this, it's a little bit of a different situation. These sliders will allow me to go up, down on the strong, which are indicated by the dark red, medium, which are medium red, and weak, which would either be light blue or light red. For the groove, I'm using the crossfader slider or the long slider on the QuNeo. Now, at default, it automatically is applying to the strong accent pattern. If I would like it to switch to the medium or to the light, I use the rhombus button or this button just between both rotaries to access a different bank. There's up to 4 banks, so as soon as I hit that, I'm on bank 2. I can switch it to the second groove. I can hit it one more time, it will turn orange. I'm on bank 3 and use that. And bank 4 will be for the all group, but for now I'm going to turn it off. Now each slider will indicate strong, medium, light, and the all groups so that you can actually adjust velocity a lot quicker than you would normally expect. Now the button matrix. Each of these pads is currently set up in mode 6, which would apply to be grid mode. Grid mode means that each top corner or each corner of the pad can specifically output a note. What I do with this is I've applied that to be a 64 button matrix, each corner across 16 pads, controlling what we call the beatform sequencer. This sequencer is applying various step sequencer patterns in steps of 8, and you can also start using denser subdivisions below. So for example, row 1 indicated in purple, that's 8th notes. Row 2 would be 16ths. This would be triplets, and then other swing values below that. So if I'm creating something right now, I'm just going to quickly hit play. Alright, let's go find some hi-hat patterns. I'm just going to draw in quickly some 8s. Alright, let's go to the open hi-hat. Remove that one. Okay, I'm going to select all these toms, and I'm going to open up the randomizer. Now I talked about bars, beats, and velocity. I didn't talk about what we like to call collaboration. So this is like-minded instruments. All 3 toms, I want to kind of let them collaborate together and create a tom fill. So I'm just going to adjust the slider, take a look at my preferences. I'm going to collaborate on notes. I'll also apply some random bar forms, and we'll have it work in a sawtooth fashion. Let's surprise me and see what happens. Let's try it one more time. Okay, now I have a fairly decent tom fill, but it's a bunch of 8th notes, nothing special. Let's get some different note styles in there. So I'm going to activate right now the second row, which is my beat forms. It's active. I'm going to set the slider to roughly about there. Surprise me. Alright, sounds like something. If I'm not happy, for example, with this fuzz tom, I can always just quickly adjust that and change it by using my pads and the sequencer. And lastly, we will be applying this up-down arrow is allowing me to choose from my beat builder the most preferable in the list. So I can scroll across the suggested, the similar, the favorites, and the all, which if I just zoom over here, you can see as I start pushing up or down these arrows, I'm scrolling across that list, which I can just click and drop in. And that's a quick overview of how to use the QuNeo in MIDI maps with Liquid Rhythm.